Hey guys, Mrs. Smith here. We are going to be doing a art project together today, and it's a little bit fall themed, a little bit Halloween themed. So we are going to be doing something called Pumpkins in the Moonlight. So you have a black sheet of paper. I also have a black sheet of paper, but I am going to do this first part on white just so you guys can see it. So you have a black sheet of paper and a pencil. Now, remembering the rules for sketching, I need to tickle the page and I need to do it light till I get it right. That way I can erase without damaging my paper. So the first thing we need to do is we need to sketch our pumpkins. The pumpkins are the focal point on here. So our pumpkins are going to be pretty large. Okay, so I'm going to draw a couple pumpkins, and the great thing about pumpkins is they are wonky. Pumpkins are wonky. They're not perfect. They are not super symmetrical. They are kind of all over the place, which gives us a bit of freedom that if your pumpkin's not perfectly symmetrical, it's not a big deal. Who cares? Nobody. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with an oval. So on your black sheet of paper, you're going to start with your pencil doing a large, long oval. Okay? You want your pumpkins to be large. If your pumpkins are small, it's not going to work. I'm doing this in Sharpie so you guys can see it on the white. It's just a little bit easier to see. But you want your pumpkins to be pretty big. So this is not our pumpkin. This is the center of our pumpkin. So now I've done an oval. Now I'm going to do just sort of like a half oval and connect it to here. So I start at the top. And see how I'm still tickling the page, even with a Sharpie. Okay, so see, I made a little mistake here. That's not a big deal because if I was doing this in pencil, I'd be able to erase it. So not a big deal. Then I'm going to do another half circle shape, but it's actually going to be a little bit smaller. The reason it is a little bit smaller is because it gives us the illusion of 3 dimensions. It makes it look like it's not actually getting smaller on the side. It looks like it's 3D. So it's going to be a little bit skinnier and a little bit shorter as well. Okay, see how it gets a little bit shorter here? Now, that's one side of your pumpkin. So you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to try and sort of copy the other side. See how I'm doing lots of little strokes. I'm not doing a bunch of like big lines because this allows me to correct any mistakes I make. Same thing on this side. Okay, so I have my pumpkin body here. I have my pumpkin body. What I'm going to do now is I need to give it a stem. Now I'm also going to add the back of the pumpkin, what we don't see. So this kind of goes off in the background here. Okay, so the stem is coming out the center. The stem is just like a big candy cane shape. Pretty straightforward there. Then you bring it right back down to the center. So you have your stem. So that's your first pumpkin. Now we're going to do a second pumpkin. Notice how this isn't at the bottom. This is somewhere in the center of the page. If yours is near the bottom, that's okay. Don't freak out. It's not a big deal. I am also going to do another pumpkin, and it's going to be a tall pumpkin. okay? It's going to be a long pumpkin. And I'm actually going to make it lower. Now, right now it's going to look like I have two floating pumpkins here. But that is okay, because I'll show you what to do with that. So I'm going to give myself a long oval. You can tell this is going to be a long, skinny pumpkin as opposed to something that was wider. Okay. Now, same thing. I'm going to do these half oval shapes. To make it look like my pumpkin is nice and big. You want your pumpkins to be large. You want your pumpkins to be really large. Okay, so this one, I'm going to do the opposite way. I'm going to do my opposite candy cane. And then I am going to do the background. Those are just little loops kind of behind there, okay? So I have my two pumpkins. That's step one. Step one is to draw our pumpkins. Then, well, my pumpkins are floating right now and that doesn't really work. So I am going to draw my pumpkin patch. So I am going to draw a line in the background here. This will help us create a 3D sort of, gives us a bit of depth to it, right? If I put a line underneath my pumpkins are floating on the ground. And that is okay, but it's not grade 3. We're gonna try and really make it look realistic here. So I am going to draw a little piece of ground here and a little piece of ground here to make it look like these pumpkins are sitting on the ground and then the field is all around them. I can also do things like add some lines for the field off to the side of each pumpkin here. And these are just lines in different directions. I don't put a lot of thought into drawing grass. I just kind of do whatever in any direction, okay? So I have my pumpkins. I have them in the field. Now, pumpkins have vines a lot, so I need to do something about that. So off my stem, I am going to draw kind of a wavy line, squiggly line, like so. See how I do these loop-de-loops? Because vines grow in all sorts of strange directions here. And off that line, I am going to draw some leaves. So I just did a center line, and then I did some leaves off of there. Okay. I'm going to do the same with this one. So I did the vine going this way on this side, so I'm going to do the vine going this way on this side just because it'll help with balance in your art piece. Okay. Look, that one's really long. All right. I'm going to draw my leaves. Don't worry about that line going through there. Not a big deal. Okay, I have my pumpkins, I have my vines, I have my ground. Well, it's pumpkins in the moonlight, so I'm missing something here. I am going to draw my moon. Now, I'm not going to put it right in the corner. I'm going to put it about here. The moon reflects the light from the sun. The moon actually doesn't give off any light. The sunlight bounces off it, and that's why it looks that way. So when we say moonlight, what we're actually seeing is sunlight bouncing at the earth. Interesting stuff, eh? So that's where we put the moon is going to help us with when we do the color part of our pumpkin. So I am just going to do, I know this year it's supposed to be a full moon on Halloween, but I'm going to do a crescent moon. So you start with like a backward C, or you can do a forward C, and then you kind of follow it around. And it's sort of, how I imagine it is like I'm drawing a banana. So I have my moon in the sky there. Now you have to remember that this is, on mine, it's white. On yours, it's black. So you have the dark night sky behind there anyways, okay? So step 1. Done. We're going to draw this. Step 2 is going to be gluing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to transfer this drawing over to here in pencil so that I can show you that next step. Great work, guys. Hey guys, okay, here is part 2. So it's really hard to tell, but those are my pumpkins, okay? So I have transferred it over to black. I have my pencil. I'm happy with how it looks. Now, this next part is gonna be tricky. You have to be so careful with this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna watch first, then do. So don't touch your glue yet. So you're gonna have like a popsicle stick or something. I have the back of a paintbrush. I'm not going to put the brushes in. Don't put brushes in glue. It ruins them. Okay, so I'm going to use the back of the paintbrush to help me here. Ideally, we would all have glue with like these kind of caps, but unfortunately we don't have those. So that is okay. We are going to make do with what we have. So let's jump into this here. You guys have white glue. I have clear glue. It ends up being exactly the same, so not a big deal. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this. You're going to take your popsicle stick and dip it into the glue. Not right now. Not right now. Watch first. Now, it's really leaking a whole bunch, so I don't want to move it until it stops dripping, okay? And you want to be really in control of it. If you accidentally get some glue on another area of your design, you can just wipe it off. It's easy before it dries, okay? So I have some glue on here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be making walls. So I am going to be outlining anything that is pencil. And what it does is it creates a raised edge around each line, and it creates sort of like little borders around each line, okay? It helps when we're doing oil pastels to have these little borders, okay? So just watch me here. So I am not dragging the popsicle stick across. I'm not going, I am gently, very gently making a line, and you can see on there that it is thick. Look how thick that is. If you look at it from the side, it creates like a little wall. So with your popsicle stick, you're going to be making a thin line that goes all the way around. They might be different thicknesses, but that is okay. So I'm just going to do this section for you so you can see what a completed section looks like. Okay, I'm just very carefully making dots. And I have to reload this a lot because it's not absorbing the glue. It's just kind of holding the glue for a second. See how my glue is not dripping though? I'm not picking it up and putting it directly over. When I put it in the glue, I make sure that it's done dripping. You can kind of twist it around, and then I have some on the end. So that allows me to have more control and it's not just a sloppy mess going across here, okay? So, here we go. I'm almost done this section here. You can see that this is like tedious work here. This is not something where we want to be crazy loud for. We want to be nice and quiet while we're doing this because this is hard. And if we're distracted, we make mistakes. And if we're distracted, sometimes we knock over the glue. That's a real big problem because it could ruin yours or somebody else's artwork. So you can see on this, see how it's thick walls of glue going around. Now, you're going to do this for every single line. Any line you have with pencil, you are going to outline with glue. So that means these lines down here. And remember, it is not a dragging motion. It is a dotting motion. If I drag, it creates a really thick, flat line of glue, which is not what I want. I want like a wall of glue. I want to create like a thick border. So I need to go along the bottom. I need to do my grass. I need to do my vines. And I need to do my moon. So I'm going to pause this video so you can do this part. Once you're done this part, we need to let it dry. It is really important that it dries before we do the next part. Otherwise, it's just going to be impossible to do. So carefully dotting the glue all the way around. I'm going to pause this and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's all done. So this is what it should look like when the glue step is done. All my pencil lines are covered in glue. And as you can see, it creates little 3D texture. When it dries, they're going to be like little walls that block off each section, which is going to make our next step a lot easier. For right now, I need to leave this to the side and I can't touch it. I got to keep my fingers off of it. It needs to dry in order for us to do the next step. So it's got to be really, really, really dry. So I can't touch it and I can't play with it. So we're going to leave it alone and we're going to come back when we are ready for step 3. Hey guys, now we're back. So as you can see here, we are dry. We have, you can put your finger along it, you can feel that there's a little raised edge, a tiny little wall separating each of these sections. So what we're going to be doing now is we are going to be using pastel. Now this is oil pastel. Oil pastel is really great, but if it gets on your clothes, it's going to be really hard to get out. So roll up your sleeves. Now, the moon in the sky is going to be casting its reflected light onto the tops of the pumpkins. So the tops of the pumpkins are going to be lighter. When you think of a pumpkin, everyone thinks of orange, but we're actually going to be using yellow, orange, and red to help create that look of a moonlight and then the shadow underneath. So we're going to be starting from yellow on top, blending with orange, and then blending with red. So you may be thinking, this looks hard. It's not. It's actually super easy. So if you have pastels that are super dirty, on like a paper towel or something, just wipe it off, because if you have other colors on there, it might blend some colors you don't want. So we're going to start with yellow, and I'm going to start in this middle section of this pumpkin right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color the top. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. Absolutely does not have to be perfect. I didn't fill it in. I didn't go like super hard with it. Then I am going to be using orange. So with my orange, I'm going to go to the walls of my pumpkin. And at the very bottom is going to be red, and that's going to be the darkest part of the pumpkin. So seeing how I'm staying in the lines here, I'm staying in my little walls, and it helps me because I can actually feel those walls. But this isn't done. That doesn't look very good right now. So what we're going to do is you're going to need a paper towel. You're going to fold it, fold it, fold it, fold it. So this is what I did. I took a big piece of paper towel, fold it in half, fold it in half again, fold it in half again, fold it in half again, and even fold it in half one more time. So you're going to use this corner here to blend. So what I do is I put my finger and I kind of wrap my finger with it, okay? And then I just very gently, I'm going to go up and down. I'm going to start up near the top of my yellow, and I'm going to work down to the red, okay? Okay, so you can see it's starting to blend, but what happens is the first pass by you do of this, it rubs off a bit, so you're going to add some more color in there. You're going to add a bit more. It's a layering thing. And then very gently blending those together. I'm not putting very much pressure on this at all, okay? Okay, so I have my one section. That's one. I have to do that in each of my pumpkin sections now. So again, let's do this one more time. I start with the yellow at the top. Yellow goes at the top because that's where the moonlight is hitting, so it's going to be lighter. Then I do my orange, and my orange takes up most of it. See how much orange there is compared to a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red down here. Because this is underneath the pumpkin, so it's just going to be a little bit shadowed. Again, taking the corner and very gently blending my colors together. And if you notice that some of the colors are starting to come off too much, you just add a very light amount. And there you go. So I have 2 sections already. Now, one thing I want to talk to you guys about is these back sections back here that represent the back of the pumpkin that we drew. I want you to think, what color would those be? If you imagine you turned the pumpkin around to see, what would the tops of our pumpkin be? Think, 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 think. The moonlight is hitting the top of the pumpkin, therefore it is going to be yellow. So these background sections, you're just going to fill them in with yellow. And you can take your paper towel, you can fill them in a bit there and just blend them. Okay. So there we go. That's all I have to do for those back ones. It's just these front ones here that I need to do that awesome blending for. So we're gonna zoom ahead and you guys are going to take a look at what this looks like once it's all done. Okay, so yellow, mostly orange, then red, gently blending with our handy dandy paper towel tool. Alrighty, so now you have had a chance to color your pumpkins. So as you can see, my colors are really muted through here, meaning they're not super vibrant in your face. You got to imagine, this is supposed to be pumpkins in the moonlight, so it's dark. Colors aren't as vibrant in the dark. So I have my yellow at the top, I blend it into orange, and I have red at the bottom. That gives it a really nice 3D effect here, and it gives it some natural lighting. So what we're going to be doing now is we need to do our stem, right? We got our pumpkins, now we need to do our stem. So a couple different options here. I have brown and green to do this for the stem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick two colors. So just pick two colors because it's just such a small space. And I think I'm going to do brown and light green for this, but it's up to you. So same thing as before, I am going to color in that zone. And then I'm actually just going to put some green on top of it. And then with my handy dandy little paper towel, I'm going to blend it in a bit. And then I can just add more color as needed. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Maximum 2 colors for this. You don't want to have a whole bunch of colors because it's too small of a space. Okay. Wow. These are going to look cool when they're done. So I have my stems. Now I need to do the ground and my vines. So I'm going to use like a green. If you have a dark green, pick the darker green. And what we're going to do is, there's really no section in here where I can color in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline the bottom. And I'm just going to do a green line along the bottom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some green in these sections here where I don't have glue, just to add some color. Then I take my paper towel again and I'm just going to very gently blend this. Okay, just so it's very soft. I don't want my colors to be super duper bright because we're in the moonlight. Same thing over here. I'm going to add my green underneath. I'm going to add in my grass here. And then very gently blend it in. You don't have to push very hard. You see, it's coming off on the paper towel so easily. So I only want to touch the green part. That's the part that you just need to be very careful of, okay? So I'm going to add a bit more green down here. Wow, that's going to look super cool. I need to do my last dark green, which is my horizon line, okay? That would be kind of the end of the pumpkin patch. Same thing as before. I'm gonna go just below that line. And yet again, gently blending that in. So it gives us a hint of what color it is without it being like in your face green. It gives you a hint that like it's really dark. You can kind of tell that the ground is green. You can kind of tell the color of the pumpkins, but it's not like boom, in your face. Think about if you ever walk around in the dark. It's really hard to tell colors in the dark. So now I'm going to take a different shade of green if you have it. Again, if it's dirty like mine is, just wipe it off on a separate piece of paper or paper towel, okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing with my leaves and my vines. I'm just going to go right beside my glue line, and I'm going to follow it. And then I need to color in my leaf. Very little, okay? And then I blend this in again because I don't need it to be so bright. You want to be able to tell that the vine is there, but not have it be so in your face. It's almost like a really soft glow around it. Kind of just trace around my glue line. You'll notice that the pastel doesn't really stick to the glue. That makes it a resist. It resists the pastel. It won't let the pastel settle on it. Okay, so I have that. Now I'm going to do this side. I know I turn it sideways for this, it's just the way my hand works. Sometimes in art, you gotta move the paper around or you gotta move your body around. In this case, because we're sitting at our desks, we're just gonna move the paper around as you need to. Okay, and inside those leaves, I'm gonna add that. And here we go. Again, very gentle. Very gently creating that glow around there. Just enough to tell that it's there and nothing more. Okay, guys, so here's what happened. Between that last video and this video, my phone died and I didn't realize until after. So this is what it actually looks like in the end, but I'm just gonna re-go over what this is supposed to look like up here because I did it thinking it was recording and it wasn't. So that's a little silly. So what you're going to do is you're going to be taking your white pastel. So you want to make sure it's nice and clean. See how dirty mine is? So just use your separate piece of paper, clean it up, get the extras off there. Then we're going to be going into our moon. Our moon is going to be the brightest thing in the sky because it is, well, it's reflecting all the sunlight. So you're going to be going through and putting a pretty heavy layer of white in there. You want it to be really strong colors, really strong white there. Then we are going to be doing stars. And with stars, what happens is when I ask students to do stars, they do stuff like this. They're just monster stars. So I want you to think, when you look up in the night sky, stars are like little pinpricks. They are not big tennis balls in the sky, okay? So when we're doing stars, if you look at my example here, they're very small. So how you do that is you take your white pastel and you just put it on and then you just like twist it on that spot. I'm not moving it around. I just put it down and twist. Put it down, twist. Put it down. I can just wiggle it just a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm making these tiny, tiny little stars, okay? So I've added some stars here. Now stars are like salt in cooking. If you add too many, it ruins it. So once you look at it and you're like, Kate, that's pretty filled up there, stop, okay, before it gets too much. So the last part is we want to create this glow around the moon. It's glowing with reflecting that light. So what we're going to do is very, very, very softly, you're just going to do little lines going all the way around. And I am barely touching. I'm not putting any pressure at all here. It's going to go all the way around there. Once I have that, I have my glow, I have my stars, I'm going to take my handy dandy paper towel and I am going to blur them a little bit here. So I'm going to take my paper towel, fold, 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 and I'm just doing little circles here. I'm just going like this, in a little circle, like that. And I'm going to do the same on my stars to give them a glow. They won't be as super bright. They'll have a bit of a glow to them in the night sky, okay? And that's really your last step. Once you have your stars, your moon, you've blended it how you like it, you have your pumpkins in the moonlight. Alrighty guys, I look forward to seeing how this all turns out. Don't forget, you need to sign your name in white pencil crayon in the bottom right corner to make sure you've marked that it is your art. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing what these look like.